In a small town of northeast Ohio, a train disaster happened here on December 29th, 1876. Right here in Chestnut Grove Cemetery, a lot of those remains are buried here. Right behind this cemetery is the Ashtabula River that extends down to the Ashtabula Bridge disaster. This cemetery is about 10 miles from the train disaster itself. There's monuments for the deceased and a monument for the train engineer of that cold winter night. It is known as one of the most historical sites in the U.S. This cemetery is also haunted, known for creepy and chilly sounds that people won't drive through or walk through at night. I myself have come down here with some friends at some nights and heard sounds that we haven't heard before. It's definitely a spooky cemetery to say the least, day or night.
This is the monument for the memory of the unrecognized dead. It's built about 20 years after the incident happened in 1895. It stands about 30 feet tall and is strong till this day. There's a list of names on the side here of the people that have been buried here, and there's some others that have not been recognized. There are also a few others that had survived the train disaster too, but they have not been recognized here.
This is the monument of Charles Collins, the train engineer in charge that night. He survived the disaster and later killed himself due to feeling responsible for that tragic disaster. This train disaster sparked states across the U.S. It was one of the worst train disasters for a long time. The train was hauling 11 rail cars, including 2 express cars, 1 smoking car, 3 coaches, and 3 sleeping cars that carried all the passengers on board. The train was crossing the river about 1,000 feet from the railroad station when the bridge gave out. A hospital was built next to this bridge after this experience.
There's been a lot of improvements made over here in the past few recent years, including this boardwalk and the mulch trail here that extends all the way down to the bridge disaster. A lot of it's been done specifically for the tourists that come in wanting to see this area. It was December 29th, 1876. Right behind me, the Ashtabula train disaster took place 140 years ago to this date. It's pretty abandoned and overlooked, but it still gives off a pretty ominous vibe.
Tourists and people from this small town still come down here to explore the bridge and see if there's anything left from the crash 140 years later. These items include coins, gold, and jewelry that would be worth so much more in today's society.
At about 7:30 p.m., 2 trains collapsed into this river. Of the 159 passengers, only 67 of them survived. Of the 92 passengers who didn't survive, 2 of them were gospel singer Philip Bliss and his wife. It was said to have been the worst train disaster in U.S. history until 1918.
This was the first train station built in Ashtabula, Ohio in the early 1800s. The train disaster occurred about 1,000 feet from this site. It still remains here and not much of use today. You can crawl through 2 busted holes, one on each side, and see what it looks like inside. The legacy of the 1876 train disaster lives with the lives of the Northeast Ohio people forever.